Transition, the process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroads where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the now and future. Shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, not exactly its remarkable ongoing reality.
Welcome to Transition Radio.
Well, hello and good evening. My name is Mark Angelo Cummings, and I'm your host.
And I'm Lena Lopez, your hostess.
Tonight we're broadcasting live from the land of enchantment, Silver City, New Mexico. Yes. But before we start a broadcast, we want to do what?
Wanted to thank our sponsors at thebreastformstore.com. They have everything you can imagine to enhance your feminizing needs.
As well as Spunk Lube. It's a personal lubricant that's 100% sex toy safe, glycerin-free, and it's fun to use. Visit their website at
spunklube.com
and put in the code TR and you will receive a 10% discount. Well, tonight, folks, we have an amazing show for you. We have Zoey Tur, who has been under fire by many in the trans community due to expressing her opinion and beliefs on many media outlets. Zoey is a special correspondent at Inside Edition, helicopter pilot, researcher at Ocean Scientific, and producer/camera person at CNN iReport.
She has also won 3 Television News Emmy Awards, 2 Edward R. Murrow Awards for Broadcast Excellence, the NPPA Humanitarian Award, several Golden Mics, and numerous other local and national citations.
So now, welcome to the show, the incredibly talented Miss Zoey Tur.
Welcome, Zoe.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi,
Thank
so
you.
Glad to have you on. Thank you. It is an amazing pleasure to have you on our show. We've been following your career for quite a long time now, and I think that you are just an incredible person, all-rounded, and I am really saddened by the latest of our community and what they're trying to do to you.
Oh, me too.
Let me ask you first, before we start the interview, we want to congratulate you on all of your great accomplishment. In your own words, why do you think this storm has been created by our community towards you?
Well, I think we're on the cusp of a major civil rights battle, and just as you saw with the Native American movement, the African American, black civil rights, and even the gay civil rights movement. It starts off with competing interests, a fight for power, a fight for, leadership, and you see a lot of people, a lot of infighting, and a lot of grandstanding, and there's kind of a leadership vacuum, if you will. So I think if anyone is too visible, they're going to get attacked. And I've seen a lot of infighting internally between Human Rights Campaign and also GLAAD and other organizations, especially now that money's drying up for gay rights issues, now that lesbians and gays and bisexuals have come so far, and with the expected Supreme Court decision that will grant, and it's expected that it will grant gay marriage, which will, invalidate many of the anti-gay marriage laws across the country, that I think that these big organizations have to look to the next civil rights issue and that's transgender rights. So I think that they're trying to really work out what what the fight is, and also what the strategy is. So I guess by speaking out and being independent and having an opinion is not tolerated.
Yeah, they consider people like us dangerous because we're not playing by the rules that they want us to play. And they're trying to actually create this whole picture of what a trans person is supposed to be, and dare anyone step out of those lines or voice their opinion, because then we're attacked. I know Monica Roberts.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I really don't know who a lot of these people are, and they've come out from under their rocks and started. They've been pretty vicious. But I'm kind of learning who these people are, and I'm not really that impressed. And I want you to know that this will be the very last interview I ever do with anyone that's in the LGBT press or reporters. And I say that because I have great respect for you and your co-host's work. I made it a point to see your videos, and you've had opposing viewpoints. But this is it. I don't like the idea of advocacy journalism. I come from mainstream media where, you cannot be an advocate for any side. And I know that you're familiar with the internal the messages that I was sent that HRC sent me, and also by some so-called transgender reporters asking me to lie and not cover the story and not mention talk about the underlying issues surrounding these bathroom controversies. So, which was really kind of insulting, when I had HRC and GLAAD say that I needed training before I could speak on issues involving an anomaly that I suffered from for 53 years. It's really it's insulting, and it's also demeaning, and it's the last thing a reporter wants to hear is that I need to be certified to speak on behalf of myself.
Exactly.
You don't do that to a reporter. I talked to the Los Angeles Times. I talked to the Times and CNN and Inside Edition, and they were just appalled.
That's crazy.
I think that my name's Glenn. It's really nice meeting you, Zoe. I grew up in Southern California. Yeah, I grew up in Southern California and used to watch, your stuff.
You're pretty.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I'm really honored to speak to you, because I know the body of work that you've done and how much you have done for the community, especially in Southern California, where I'm from. And you've been quoted as reporting that misinformation. And as a reporter, we know you take your job seriously, and you're a professional, consummate one at that. Tell us about the information that you found regarding Carlotta Sklodowska, who was involved in the Planet Fitness controversy, and what sources did you use besides Facebook that led you to believe that she was a cross-dresser and not really fully trans?
Well, you go by the best information you can get, and if you don't have enough information, then you don't really talk about. You try to hold the story, or you talk around issues that you really don't feel comfortable talking about. But in looking at this story, I've had a lot of people tell me that I didn't know what I was talking about, and that they've tried to define who this persona is. There is no Carlotta Sklodowska. There is no legal named person, Carlotta Sklodowska, according to DMV records, voter registration records, House records, Pretty records, and court records with the state of Michigan. So, that's one thing. And so, but there is a lot of social media that where Carlotta Sklodowska talks about Carlotta Sklodowska, including Facebook, and Twitter, and also fetish website information, which I withheld, and also membership to cross-dressing organizations such as Trias. And so, and if you know anything about Trias, and I had to learn about it, is that it's a cross-dressing organization, and it was created, years ago by a woman that lives out here in Southern California, or a man. Sorry, a man. I don't. I get confused like everyone else, but essentially a guy that identifies as a male-identified cross-dresser, and they don't, transgender. They're not. Transgender is not, in their. They're really not transsexuals, and they don't identify as women, and it's insulting to them to say that they are men that like to cross-dress. Okay,
right.
whatever you want, and some, so I checked all that information, and I believe what Carlotta Sklodowska says, and I think it's very presumptuous of others to believe that they speak for Carlotta Sklodowska, so it's okay. And the other thing is, when I went on the air and I talked about Carlotta Sklodowska, people heard cross-dresser and they immediately thought freak. They heard transvestite and they heard pervert. They heard fetish and they heard sick, fetish pervert. So look, everyone's got their fetishes, and
right.
Anyone that's gone to a Pink concert, like especially the last one, the Truth About Love concert, where it was all about fetish. So and we all have our fetishes, and we love our fetishes, and it makes us. It's our, it's part of our sexuality. It's part of our dark side, and we should love it and embrace it. But there are so many people in our community that hate themselves.
Exactly.
And I love being transsexual. I love that I got to be and spend time as male, although I was horribly depressed most of my life because of the gender dysphoria. But I got to do some amazing things I would never have been allowed to do as a woman. And now that I've transitioned, am I a woman? Well, I'm definitely hybrid, but I'm as close to female as I think I can get. There's so much that goes into it. I'm on gender cross hormone therapy. Been on it for 24 months, and there's still changes. I've had 2 major surgeries, including sexual reassignment surgery and facial feminization surgery, and I still have 1 more to go. And if that wasn't enough, I now understand what it's like to be a second-class citizen. I know what it's like to be told to sit down, shut the fuck up, and listen. Mm-hmm. I know what it's like to be demeaned, and I know what it's like to be treated, poorly by men. And that was a real eye-opening experience. A lot of these people in my community were threatening me with rape and kidnapping and even murder. And I don't know any woman.
Uncalled for.
Yeah, but I don't know any woman that would ever ask that another woman be raped or threaten another woman with rape.
That's just despicable.
Who does that?
That's just despicable, and that's our community likes to sweep things under the rug, and like this whole Skolowaska, whatever her name is, issue is like it's almost like they don't want that to come out. Why haven't they interviewed her? Because probably they're ashamed to interview her and be proven that you're right.
Speak, Yeah, I can't speak. I don't know who they necessarily is, and I do know what you mean, but I can't really speak for many in the community. I'm speaking for myself,
right.
But I can speak to what I was said by Human Rights Campaign, an executive there, and I can speak to what GLAAD wrote to CNN, and others, and what I guess a sort of blogging transgender. She calls herself a reporter, but I don't really think she is, given the body of her work and the tenor of her messages. But I provided some of that on my Facebook page, and I was told, among other things, besides being, that I need training, but they did what they did with black reporters years ago, and they said, hey, you're black, and you got to tell the black narrative, and you got to talk black, and you got to look black, and hey, brother, you can't be independent. You're one of us, and that's what I was getting. I was getting this really dismissive thing, like, oh, but you're a transgender woman, and you got to, you got to protect the children, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm protecting my community, the transgender community, as well as the cisgender community, by being brutally honest.
Exactly.
And that's what you do. It's about open dialogue and debate. And if we're not having it, well, you better damn well believe that the legislatures across this country will be having that debate. And they already are. And they have a great deal of impact on the quality of life for everybody that considers them or falls under this transgender. It's not even an umbrella, it's more like a tent. And that's another issue that we need to talk about.
I know. That's incredible, the amount of denial. For instance, you made a quote that's been misquoted in saying that trans men do not exist. That was not at all what you said. You were talking about a very important study regarding PCOS, which I actually had when I was a female. So I think it's a very important topic that needs to be talked about and not brushed under the table. Can you elaborate a little bit more on this?
I'm so glad you brought that up. When I was interviewed, there were a lot of jump cuts in that original interview, and I started talking about polycystic ovarian syndrome among female to males. And, the numbers may be as high as 25%. And that was a study, I guess, done back in 2002. But, the American Cancer Society, they say that trans men have a higher risk because of testosterone, have a much higher risk for developing ovarian cancer, and because the excess testosterone is converted into estrogen in the body, it adds to ovarian cancer risk. And then other studies have said that as many as 25% have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a problem also. And I was talking about these really important health issues, trans men, as a way of getting the word out, and because once you have ovarian cancer, it's another silent killer like hypertension and others, and it has a death rate of about 65%. So by the time you realize you have symptoms, it's usually too late. So I was talking about PCOS, and I was talking about, of course, there's brain differences, and there's genetic differences, and there's maybe in utero environmental differences. So not dissimilar from what you have with males to female, with gender dysphoria and that sort of thing. But because you have trans men, many were, if not all, were born, not all, but most were born with ovaries. There's a higher risk, and PCOS needs to be discussed. But if you mention that, you are told that, to take a jump from talking about PCOS to saying trans men don't exist.
I know. It's
an outright lie. It's an outright lie. And the sad thing is, many people believed what they read in The Advocate and what they heard on, in some of this LGBT media. To use, and even Huffington Post in their gay blogs section, to use your ability to speak to others as a weapon, to weaponize it, and give misinformation to people that need health information, is not only reprehensible, but it's murder. You're killing people, because you're not educating people on health issues. It's hard enough for us to want to go and get medical care. We find it's difficult to deal with physicians and hospitals. We're treated with disrespect, or many of us are, dismissed, turned away, or physicians don't even want to understand what we're dealing with. So it's bad enough and difficult enough. And we have, of course, issues with insurance companies not wanting to cover transgender care. So if that's not bad enough, to be dismissed and have people within our community weaponize information, that's just crazy. A new rung in hell. That's right definitely. There with with insurance salesmen and reporters and lawyers. And I'm joking.
They're saying that you're trying to say that if trans men take estrogen, they're going to be cured and not be trans men, and so they're worried about that. And I personally think that who wants to live this life? If they would have given me a hormone to have so-called fix this condition, I would have happily taken it instead of living the life, which is a hard life. So not everyone is trans. Not everyone is trans also.
Oh, listen.
Go ahead.
For me to have lived as long as I did, I'm just amazed that the kids can do this now and can get testosterone blockers or, can block puberty until they can make informed decision. It's remarkable to me, and that there's information out there. That's wonderful. But to go through the hell that I lived through, and I know that you have a similar story, both of you do, and to live that way, and then to go through these surgeries, and then to fight for work and to fight for health care. Everything's a fight. Yeah, if I could have taken a hormone supplement, bring it on. But that's not the case. There's no cure. There's no cure that I know for gender dysphoria, including antidepressants, talk therapy, coercive conversion therapy. It doesn't work. The only thing that I know that fixes this is cross-hormone therapy, and almost immediately on cross-hormone therapy, the depression was gone. And for many of us, that includes surgery. Not all, but for many.
Yeah, that is true.
Well, with the recent rise in transgender individuals lately, it's just seemed like exponentially grown. And the perceived loss of manhood in a society that has replaced their traditional roles, we wonder if men are looking for an escape and literally swapping the midlife crisis Corvette in exchange for breasts. What are your thoughts?
You mean like get a Porsche or breasts?
Yeah, I mean, it's like instead of like dealing with life, they and getting that new car, they want to become women.
There's like a major
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that, but I know if you get the Porsche, don't you get the girl? And then you get the breast.
So. There you go.
So wait a minute. No, I think that's. Well, let me say this. Do you really think it's possible for a man or a woman that isn't, transsexual, that doesn't really suffer from gender dysphoria, to succeed going through this process using cross-hormone therapy? Wouldn't that bring a whole host of other issues? I mean, isn't
it would.
Cross-hormone therapy kind of the test?
But I think that a lot of doctors and the medical community in general is just giving people a free pass.
Yeah. They're handing them out like candy.
I mean, it's like you can just do the convenience store life,
Yeah, I see your point. And I think that for a lot of very angry people, they feel the things that they have to do, they don't like the gatekeepers. And they feel it's their right just to start on hormones. And it's, you're doing some things that you may not be able to come back from. For example, with female to male, you start on hormones and your voice deepens and you start developing facial hair. And to go back, I mean, do you really want to go through endless electrolysis and laser hair treatments and then deal with, voice issues? And also with, male to females, you grow breasts. And then if you
right.
decide to transition, then you're talking about mastectomy. And that's scarring and it's difficult. I mean, really? So, I don't know how that. I think there's a lot of physicians that really do not understand this, and there's very few. It's not really a real research subject. I don't really believe they're experts. There are really, in my opinion, there are very few experts in the area of transgender medicine, transsexual medicine, and intersex. Just a handful.
Right.
Eric Verlaine at
Absolutely.
UCLA. Eric Verlaine is one of the leading experts in intersex and, by extension, transsexualism. He's a geneticist and an MD over at UCLA. And I got to spend some really good time with him, about 10 years ago, talking about these issues and, hours and very illuminating. So, but there's more research, and a lot of it's coming because of functional MRI. And with MRI studies, and there's a number of type of imaging, we're seeing some very interesting things in the brain, that we haven't seen before. So, and that may yield information that may help us. But I mean, I'm absolutely of the belief that transsexualism is genetic and or is biologic. It's definitely not a learned behavior, just like homosexuality is. You can't learn to be gay, just like you can't learn to be straight. And you can't, I don't think these are things that you can reverse. I think that's ridiculous. I think we're talking about major hardwiring. And then
major. We've got 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the live show, and it's going to go, but we can keep going. But there's a caller, and I wanted to bring the caller in this last 2 minutes, and then we'll continue because we have an additional 15 minutes that goes on demand. Let me see what the caller.
I know I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. This is great. Hello, caller. State your name and where you're calling from. You've got 2 minutes before the show goes on the recording mode.
Zoe, it's Dawn Ennis from The Advocate. How are you, everyone? Hi, Mark.
Hey, how are you?
Zoe, I'm very glad to hear you're okay. I'm glad to hear your voice. I think all of us have been waiting for you to stand up and answer and talk, and it's wonderful that you are on the radio program. I'm glad that Mark is asking you questions. What I want to know, on the record, what is it that is out there that you want to dispel? Tell us so that we understand who is spreading the lies. How can we make sure that your story is accurate? What's wrong? What do you want to challenge and say?
Well, one, Don, is that I find it's very...
It's Dawn, Zoe. Dawn. D-A-W-N, not Don.
My ex-girlfriend's name is Dawn, D-A-W-N, so don't worry, I'm not misgendering you. Just take a breath. 7 years I lived with Dawn, a genetic female, so relax. One is I don't like anybody telling me to sit down and shut up and listen. That is violence towards women. Two, I think it's very important that the rumor mill stop. Like I was fired in Inside Edition, which is not true. That is not hurtful. And also, I don't think it's a good idea to attack people for ideas and having opposing viewpoints. I think there's room for everybody, including the trans-exclusionary radical feminist. Everyone should have a voice. And when you start dividing people and start condemning people, you drive them away. And division is hurtful.
I think most of the criticism has been leveled at you for providing inaccurate information. How do you respond to that?
But I can't respond to inaccurate statements. Because
what's inaccurate?
Well, give me an example, Dawn, and tell me what's inaccurate.
All right. According to the National LGBTQ Task Force, Transgender Civil Rights Project, Kyler Broadus said that you're providing incorrect information that can lead to discrimination, harassment, all kinds of bigotry.
Blah, blah, blah. What is the misinformation, Don?
Okay, if you look at our latest article, you will see that there were several issues that Mitch Callaway carefully outlined.
Again, Don, just give me what do you think's wrong? You think for yourself. You don't have to say according to this one's opinion or that one's opinion. Everyone's got an opinion.
Except that I'm not someone with an opinion. I'm a journalist, and what I'm doing here is asking you a question.
No. You're not.
Okay, we're going to go ahead, Don. We want to continue the interview. Appreciate your comment. Yes.
All I want Zoe to do is answer within the paper.
I cannot answer a question like that. It's open-ended. It means nothing. Give me an example, and I would love to answer you.
How about we talk at another time and we do that?
No, we will never talk.
All right, Don, thank you so much for calling in. Sorry, we want to continue the remainder of the questions we have set up for Zoe, but appreciate your call and your questions.
Are you familiar with what that person, Don, is trying to ask? Could you maybe make it understandable? Because did you understand that question? Was there a question?
I really don't understand the question, but again, that's part of what I consider the witch hunt in our community, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop completely because there's a lot of lies out there that are being spread about you, about me, about Susan Stanton. I mean, the community just crucifies people when they don't agree with you, and it's got to stop.
Well, yeah, I know that people took issue with me saying that transsexual people on hormones sometimes change their sexual attraction, and I know that there was a retired eye doctor named Bayer that said that wasn't true and actually dismissed that, except on the National Institute of Health website you can find several studies that deal with it, and actually mine switched. I was married 23 years, and I'm now attracted to men. I love women, but I'm sexually attracted to men. But the point is that roughly up to a third change sexual attraction, another third become bisexual, and another third remain the same. So, it happens, and to dismiss it and say it doesn't happen is absurd. And there are studies. There are studies on the subject. If someone would bother to go to Google and type it in, they can go to the National Institute of Health is the U.S. government, and they're peer-reviewed studies. So that was one, and that was kind of wrong. The other thing that was brought up was, can you remember any others? With PICOs, right? The trans men don't exist. We talked about that.
Right. We talked about that. And then there's also about children who are trans should not be allowed to play sports in the
But I never said that.
Identity.
Oh, did you see the interview? I never said that.
I know.
Did I say that?
And you know what? And even if you did, I totally agree that if you were born genetically a male and you have not taken the proper hormones to transition as a female, how can you play with young girls, 16-year-olds? The disadvantage is definitely there. I mean, that is something that, it's nothing wrong.
I know that when I was asked that question, Drew Pinsky is an internist, doctors on call, and I don't even want to talk about my other career, but the other issue is that I know that I really parroted the Olympic Organizing Committee's policy on transgender athletes and also another organization. So I was saying that if the Olympic Organizing Committee said that if I'm on cross-hormone therapy for 2 years and I've had sexual reassignment surgery and I change my ID, I can compete as a female athlete. Well, I rarely ever lose an arm wrestle. I know that I've lost strength, but I'm still pretty strong. But my point was that if a child, is on testosterone blocking, a male to female, if they're on puberty blockers, I don't think there's any issue.
Right.
But if they're not on puberty blockers, and the influence of testosterone is pretty dramatic, bone density, muscle density, strength, endurance, it changes. And to say that there aren't biologic differences between men and women is disingenuous, and it's just bad science. And it defies common sense. But
and it's part of the denial. It's the denial that the community has,
Well, it's not just denial. Well, it's not denial. It doesn't fit into a transgender narrative, and
exactly.
and really, it really is this. I think it's this weird thing where it's almost like the National Rifle Association in their policy of never giving in, of not mediating, not giving an inch, and what you do is you create a polarizing effect. So, this whole idea, did you want to ask me, it's your show, but did you want to ask me anything about, the transgender umbrella?
The transgender umbrella is so wide. Yeah. It includes so many.
I know, right?
Broad spectrum.
It's so confusing. It's not just transsexual.
Right.
It's cross-dressers, effeminate,
cross-dressers, drag queen, transvestite, bigender, androgyne, agender, power to the agenders, genderqueer, third or fourth, gender fluid, which is like sex. It's kind of gender tourism. So I don't know. But to say now, do some of these people belong in a women's changing area or women's bathroom?
It's just wrong. We're not respecting other people's rights. We're only thinking, the thing with our community, it's all about me, I, and they don't realize that we have to coexist with the world. And we have to respect other people.
I believe that to be true. I know my personal transition, and it was difficult. I lost my family and my job, and I had to pay for things. My insurance, insurance wouldn't cover anything, and I have to sue them because Blue Shield of California said they don't have to abide by California law, and they had no plastic surgeons in network anywhere, that kind of nonsense. And I went to the state, and the state said, yeah, you're right, and they found for me, but it was cheaper to pay a fine. So it's a mess. So I've been through the mill too, and at the end of the day, though, I was very respectful of other people's rights, and I did not want to be a news story. I didn't want to be, the transgender person that gets, assaulted or thrown out of a men's room or a woman's room. And I was just very careful. And the first women's room I went into, I think, was after sexual reassignment surgery and facial feminization surgery, where I didn't feel welcome in a men's room anymore. And, I pass most of the time. That's a luxury that many don't have. So I feel for people. I feel so bad, but transitioning's hard. And
it's very difficult.
I can't make people like me or perceive me to be female or accept me. So I've got to try to be a good person and reach out to people and educate and make them love me. And I've had a lot of people ostracize me, but I stayed with it, and by showing up every day and being happy and being polite, many embrace me. Not all. Even my own daughter is still not really talking to me. Highly educated, great person, but she still cannot accept what I've done.
Yeah, I have 5 kids myself, and I've been estranged from them, and they've been basically ripped out of my hands by my ex-wife.
I feel horrible for you. I have a son in medical school in New Jersey. He was wonderful, and he's been very accepting, and I'm still his father. You know, just a little bit better dressed and happier.
Yeah, right. I get 15 minutes of time every week strategically.
You can't give up.
You know,
you cannot give up.
I won't, but I deal with the religious bigotry as well. So it's a very difficult road.
Yeah. Well, we got 4 minutes left, and we wanted to ask. It appears that our community will reject any theory or comment that do not fall in line with their narrative or way of thinking. How can we, as a community, learn to coexist and respect each other's views?
I think we need to fight for our voices. We need to be open to other ideas, and I think that there are a lot of people out there. And by the way, I get a lot of support. A lot of people saying that they believe in me. They may not agree with everything, but I'm engaging them. So we all need to stand up. If you think I'm full of it, tell me. But tell me why. Don't personally attack me. We need to stay away from the personal attacks. We must stay away from tearing people down, and we can attack ideas, but we never attack people. And that's something HRC needs to learn. And they were horrible to us, and they're still horrible because they're vicious, and they want to get rid of, as does GLAAD, the first openly trans person on national television doing news. I mean, do you think there'll be another one after me if they do that?
That's crazy. They're being bullies. They're being bullies, and they need to stop. They need to
as much as the Advocate has been. Advocate's been horrible. But their name says it all. They're advocates. They're not journalists.
Yeah, they're not. They're not at all. They really those couple of articles I've written on you, disgraceful, totally.
And I know that you've taken your abuse as well.
Yeah, I'm used to it by now. But but I won't shut up. They'll try to silence me in whichever way possible, and I will not back down. And I'm glad that you won't either. And that's why we decided to stand behind you, because we believe in what you're saying.
Oh, that's why you're so cuddly.
He sure is.
Why is it that all female to males are great looking? Why is that?
He is gorgeous in every way, for sure.
Oh,
for sure.
Would you like to add anything else in the last 2 minutes remaining, Zoe?
Well, I'm so appreciative of your support, and I want to say something. I mean, I had tears in my eyes when you came to my defense. You were one of the few that was willing to speak openly and passionately. And if more people did what you've done and what you're both doing, you're performing a public service that's remarkable, and it gives me hope that there's hope for this community. But I don't have great hope, and the last thing I want to tell you is that we need, as a community, to stop being so angry and hating ourselves. Love yourself.
Exactly.
If you can love yourself, others will love you. But as long as you remain a victim, you'll always be a victim.
Thank you so much, Zoe, and we wish you well and good luck in the future. And I know you're going to do great, and keep on the good fight. We love you.
We do. We love you very much.
Take care. Take care. Bye-bye. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us, and stay tuned for Wednesday. And also Friday, we have a guest, another musician, another Quinn. So take care, guys, and see you on Wednesday. If you can't live your truth,
then it's just not worth living.
That's right. Good night, folks.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
People say I'm crazy, they don't understand the kind of life I lead trying to be a man. The ups and downs I've gone through trying to build my world. It hasn't been that easy, not at all. You don't know how it feels inside. You don't know how much I have cried. Transgender man, living a life of seclusion. Transgender man, living a world of illusion. Oh, transgender man. Many years have gone by and I'm still afraid.